allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Do a roll call vote to determine the quorum. Anita Page.
Here.
Bobby Brooks.
Here.
John Spencer.
Here.
BJ Steele.
Here.
We do have quorum. Everyone was provided a copy of the minutes from our April 2023 meeting. Were there any questions or comments about the minutes?
I make a motion we approve the minutes.
I'll second the motion.
Motion a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Everyone was also provided a copy of the claims. Are there any comments or questions about the claims?
Nope.
Have a motion?
Make a motion to approve claims.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Is there anyone signed up for public comment? No. Consultants report from the Wheatley Group, Jill.
Thank you. We did meet with some prospective industrial developers for the Shadow Lake property in early April, just after our last redevelopment meeting. We've been discussing different development opportunities and incentives and following up with some people that have asked some questions for potential businesses in town, as well as we handed out one more facade grant application. Hopefully, we've distributed about 3 in the last several months. Haven't had any of those really come in yet. So Evan was not able to be here tonight, but I've asked him to kind of follow up to see if anybody had questions or needed some assistance. Hopefully we'll have one for you at your next meeting if the gentleman that just recently purchased and opened the coffee and ice cream shop, he's interested in that. So we hope to have one for you next month. We did check in on the ladies with the Thomas Downs house, and they are in process. I think they've ordered the doors, and I think maybe some of that has come in. They're still waiting on some other things, so that's moving along as well. The industrial part, fire suppression, when we last met, the test that was supposed to be scheduled in March was postponed because there was a pump that was out. That pump was replaced. The test was then rescheduled for April 4th, which was right after our meeting. Then it was canceled by Indiana American Water. It has not yet been rescheduled. And at this time, the city's asked for help from our legal team to see if we can try to get some of this resolved.
We appreciate that, speaking as part of that process, because it seems like it's dragging on forever. And I know you know that too, so thank you for kind of putting a little pressure on them to get this rolling.
And I think from our standpoint in relation to Mr. Spencer's comment is we've been going down this road for quite some time and we still end up landing in the same space, in the same spot. So Charlestown Flats, this is a little bit different than what it has been in the past. So at the April, our SON RDA, that's the group that's handling the ready money that was passed or handed down by the state. They had allocated the $2.4 million to Charlestown Flats. Charlestown Flats project, that developer, as you all know and have heard me say, was not able to get their tax credits at that point in time. It's my understanding that IHCDA had overcommitted some tax credits during that round. They were going to have to reapply this fall, and they plan to reapply for tax credits this fall. But the state has also put a timeline or a deadline on when funds need to be committed, in their terms committed, for ready, so that the state or the RDA have time to reallocate those funds. Knowing that they weren't going to be able to have their local match committed, then their funds would have been up for reallocation. That was handled with the RDA, and then that $2.4 million was then given to the city for their wastewater plant project. So they do, the Marion Group and Charlestown Flats intend to apply for tax credits this fall. They've been given as much insurance as anybody can give them that they'll be considered for additional money in the future, whether that's redevelopment tax credits through the state or additional, what is not ready anymore. I know the initials are CCCP, but I couldn't tell you right now what that stands for. The second round of what you know is ready. So
Sounds like the
hopefully
Communist
they'll
Party
send
to
it.
me. Sounds like the Communist Party to me, CCCP. I'm just kidding.
Collaborative communities.
Thank you. But it does. It seems as if someone would have checked that out when they
It's okay.
wrote it down. But, restaurant revolving loan fund, how we left it, I think the last time we discussed it, is that we had, determined that the redevelopment commission funds, as you have now, we can't, those are not, it's not an eligible use for that, but, the city council had given a consensus to kind of move forward the process in hopes to find some funding from what is, an eligible fund to use for that. And now, redevelopment attorney and the city council attorney are working on drafting the ordinances for official consideration for the city council to do that. What we have proposed is potentially using, this hasn't all been approved yet, but using the committee that the redevelopment commission established to review the loan applications, but then take that recommendation to the city council for final approval since the funds will be coming through then. So we're working on that. And we continue to work with the, our legal representation to find the best process to reach out to the Springville Manor. People that need to be addressed. We do have, all of the files, and I think there are three, potentially three, former property owners that we'll need to discuss. And we're talking about sending it out in two ways. One is, not in hopes not to scare them off or cause concern, but let them know, they may not know that that even exists, and to let them know that with one letter, and then come back if they don't respond in a proper amount of time with another letter that might have some of their options laid out in the letter, as opposed to, please call us and we'll talk about your options.
Yeah, I appreciate
So
that.
that's what we're looking at now. And then we the group, helped the clerk treasurer's office in completing the annual report that's due on redevelopment funds, and clerk treasurer's office sent that up to local, part of local government finance prior to the 15th. And, I've updated your, cash flow related to current and proposed projects. I have that information as well. Does anyone have any questions about those things?
It's a good thorough report. Thank you for not only presenting it here, but thanks for the fact that you give it to us in advance so we can review that. We really appreciate that, Jim.
I have one follow-up question.
Yes.
About the revolving loan fund.
Yes.
Did the city council like the requirements we drafted?
What happened at the last council, it wasn't the last council meeting, because that would have been yesterday. The April council meeting is the mayor proposed that to them for the first time, and they just gave a consensus that they wanted to move forward with drafting the documents. So that is gonna be part of the ordinance that they then get, when it's ready. So those rules and requirements will go to them as the next step.
Gotcha.
Thank you, Joe. On to old business, an update on the Depot Street revitalization project.
I apologize, you'll have to hear from me a lot today, until it's Adam's turn, and then you'll get to hear from Adam. So the Depot Street revitalization project, the development update, in your package, you were given an updated schedule. The developer asked if they could have a little bit more time, to close on the project. And so we gave them that. I think the last meeting we talked about it being the middle of May, now it's the middle of June. We're gonna do if everything, works out properly, we'll do the closing on the property and the financial closing on the bond the same day. So June 15th is our date, I've been told by the developer as well that, and I've had some discussion with the mayor's office, and we have on both sides, the media, public relations people talking to one another about some type of groundbreaking event sometime after Founder's Day or Founder's Week. And they hope to have equipment on site in the beginning of July. So we can get this moving, then you'll see something happen before too long. And I can move on to, if you want me to just go on to
Yes.
the next, okay, utility relocation update. So they had an issue in getting some of the equipment in, or excuse me, the materials in, supplies in. Those have now been turned in, or they've received those, and during the course of some of their due diligence, they found, and in my report, it said there's 400 feet of existing sewer. Not that we were gonna relocate as part of this project, but the connection from the portion that we were gonna relocate to the existing lift station, there's about 400 feet that, these are my words, not anyone else's, that they were dilapidated, but I don't know if some of the pipe even really existed in some spots. So, which can cause an issue. So the city sewer board declared an emergency to fix that while we were out there doing that. So that's not part of the BOT, and that's being paid otherwise, but that's being fixed. And also, the city had received bids in the past for the community crossing matching grant, which they were awarded to do the street improvements and sidewalk improvements for 2 blocks of High Street between Highway 3 and the Force Edge project. So I'm not sure, Mayor, I didn't ask you whether that work has started yet or not, but I know that it's ready to go.
They had the pre-construction meeting, so it should kick off towards the end of this month. I do not know for sure they just had this meeting, so I don't know which area they're starting on first, whether it be High Street or Monroe Street.
So that's well underway, and I feel somewhat safe in saying the amount of money that we committed, the Redevelopment Commission committed for that 25% match, will take care of those 2 blocks. We won't know really until they do the work, because sometimes, at least in projects I've been involved like that, sometimes they end up spending a little more on something than they anticipated when they get out there. So I feel confident that we'll be able to take care of that with that amount that we committed. And I think we're ready then for Madison Street update. And I've asked Adam Dickey with HMB to come tonight. As you all are aware, you engaged them probably last year at some point in time to do survey, right-of-way, design, everything for the reconstruction of Madison Street. We held off on asking them to move forward with the design until we knew that the design was pretty firm on Force Edge, so that they didn't have to go back and redesign anything. So if it's at the will of the Redevelopment Commission, we would like to give them authorization to proceed with the design. I think we're in a spot where we're safe to do that. I've confirmed with the Force Edge engineers and their development team that they aren't changing anything related to the design there in Madison Street. So, I don't know, Adam, if you have anything you'd like to say, but.
No, I guess what I would add is just, obviously we'll have to, when we start design, we'll have to do some coordination with Forest Edge and the neighbors, so we're very sensitive to that. Want to make sure we take those concerns into account, so we'll be outreaching to them as well. But I think Jill succinctly summed it up. At this point, we've completed the survey. It's really about leave to enter the full design phase, and then we'll be able to present you something as a preliminary design to make sure it meets the city standards.
Are you asking for action for us tonight on this?
I just, You wouldn't necessarily have to take formal motion, I just didn't want to, I'd asked them to hold off on anything outside of that right-of-way and survey until, or right-of-way exploration, I guess, and survey, until we were ready to move forward with design, so.
I make a
You signed
motion,
the whole agreement, we just didn't give them notice to proceed on that yet.
so I make a motion that we express our confidence in the project and that we hope that you proceed with speed.
We will start that as soon as possible.
Excellent, thank you. Thanks for
Thank
the
you.
Thanks,
update.
guys.
Thanks, Sean.
Do we have a second on the motion?
I'll second the motion.
Oh, I didn't know that we were doing
Yeah,
actual
no, that was-
formal.
I made it a motion, because you asked for official action, so I was trying to make it in the form of an official action, but that's completely up to you, you're the chair, so you decide.
Do you want us to formalize this, Jill?
Do you want us to, Matt?
I would.
The
Okay.
mayor would like for us to,
I think it would be
John had a
better.
motion.
to issue the notice to proceed.
All in
Is that-
favor?
Okay.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. Thank you.
Okay. You go ahead with Shadow Lake. In your packet, you have the update from DC Develop on Shadow Lake. If you drive out that way, you can see where the road cuts have been made and some other things out in that area. I'm not gonna read off what they sent, since you guys had that in your packet. It also talks about their legacy complex, which reminds me that I think I sent you all the invitation that they had provided for the, I think they call it the Hard Hat Day or something out there. You can go and take a tour, so that's on the 10th. Certainly welcome to do that if you would like. We're moving along on the BOT with that as well. There've been several draws. And just for your information, anytime there's a draw, I'm copied on that. And then the redevelopment commission is also engaged, Hanwag inclined to do inspection on that project. And so every week we get an inspection report from their assigned inspector for that, if there's been work on the project. We even get a report if there hasn't been work on the project. And those reports go to me and also to Tony Jackson of the city, just to make sure people are informed. And if you all have any questions about any of that, I'd be glad to keep you informed of any of that as well. You either get the monthly report from DC Develop, or if I don't have that, you get an inspection report as well. So, but I do have all of that if you're curious or anyone has questions. On to the park.
Shadow Lake Park update.
Shadow Lake Park update. HWC continues to work on that concept delivery for Shadow Lake Park. There are 2 draft concepts that are being finalized based on comments from the local youth groups, and we discussed that, I think, at a previous meeting about the various groups that have been involved in that conceptual design. And so I think those will become more final once they've incorporated those comments, and then we also want to have some discussions with Mrs. Kleiner to make sure that what's being proposed, even the high level concept, is okay with her. That's all I have on that one.
Thank you, Jill.
And Family Activities Park. At the last meeting, the mayor gave us a very thorough presentation about the process moving forward. And you saw the conceptual design. All of those activities are gonna go through the Board of Works, like we discussed at the last meeting. It seemed that the threshold on the construction items that were not gonna be done by city forces and materials that were not gonna be purchased by the city have reached that $150,000 threshold, where it's in state statute, if it's, you have certain limits of what type of procurements you have to do. And once it hits the 150, it's a competitive sealed bid process, so it's teetering on that. So the city's gonna go through Board of Public Works and competitive sealed bid for that, on those construction related materials. And those bids are gonna be opened at the Board of Works meeting on May 17th. But
Okay.
city staff will still procure some of the materials like the chairs and some of those other furnishings and things like that, outside of that bid.
Well, I forgot at the last meeting to express my consternation that you didn't include a curling facility in the family activities park. I mean, we need to be ready for the next Olympics, and I believe that's an important part of the facility, so I just want you to know that I'm unhappy about that.
Would you like me to enter that into the record?
No. Let's go.
That's not it. All right. On to the corridor study agreement. So at the last meeting, commission gave approval to the commission president to execute that agreement upon review by the attorney. So that has all happened. The attorney had some comments, we sent it back to United Consulting. They agreed to those comments. Commission president signed that agreement, and their next step is to do some traffic counts in selected areas in May. So by your next commission meeting in June, you should have a report. It probably won't have the traffic count data, but just kind of an update on what they're gonna do next and what they've done. But I feel like they wanted to do those traffic counts before school was out, if I remember right from the schedule. So it'll be done this month. So they're moving along on that. And the last is the Greenway Park, and I had JTL on this, and I apologize, they were not able to be at the meeting tonight. They completed the survey work on the Greenway Park bank stabilization, and design is underway, so permit applications should be submitted within a 60-day period, so they're on schedule from what they presented at the meeting last month.
Thank you, Jill.
Welcome.
That's all the old business. We're on to the new business. Is there any new business to be discussed? Jill, you gave us a copy of this survey. Are we gonna?
Oh, yeah, I forgot about that, sorry. So I handed you a copy of the survey, thank you, Derek. That was supposed to be in my Shadow Lake, either the Shadow Lake or Shadow Lake Park. So we talked about the need for an electric substation to make future development possible. The existing substation, my knowledge, will allow the city to do the development that you have planned. But if there's expansion from that, or as the development moves north of High Jackson, then there's gonna be a need for a new substation. We originally thought that that substation was going to be all on Shadow Lake Park property, and as part of the negotiation with Mrs. Kleiner to donate the property, there were some lengthy discussions with her about allowing the substation to be on that property. There have been subsequent conversations after that. We're trying to move the substation because the original location was right up front, center, as you enter the park. There's no way you could miss it. After several other spots were considered, then I think we've landed on this site, and I know that it's very small, and I can email this to all of you, you can blow it up as much as you want. But that's the most recent survey that Harold Hart had performed, and it looks like the substation would be located on part of the city's property, that being Shadow Lake Park, and part on Blue Lake Development or the Christianity Development out there. So I had some conversations with our legal counsel today about how the city could convey that, whether it be a long-term lease or whether we should just donate that and convey that property to Hoosier Energy. Hoosier Energy's right.
That's right.
Okay. So they're looking through that now, and we'll have an answer prior to your next meeting so that you can take action on that. My thought today is it'll probably be just a conveyance donation of sorts, and but we still haven't ruled out the long-term lease at this point in time. But in the next couple of weeks, we should have that, and I can send something out to you all so you can consider that. Regardless of whether it's a long-term lease or an outright conveyance, the deed restrictions that are attached to Shadow Lake Park will carry forward into that, which allows it for utility use. So if Fusion Energy decided they wanted to tear up the substation and not use it for that anymore, they still have that, at least on the city's part of what they're donating, there'd still be a restriction on what they can use it for.
Thank you, Jill.
for reminding me of that.
Yep, thank you, Jill, for that update. If there is no further discussion.
So moved.
No further discussion.
waiting on you.
Thank you, man, appreciate it.
Second.
Ask for a motion to adjourn.
Adjourn, yes.
Second.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.